Alright, I'm just gonna get into it. Everything you know is a lie. Everything that you think you know is a lie. And I'm gonna tell you why.
How can you not be delusional when the nature of the very language that you were programmed to think in is in and of itself a contradiction, which makes every conceptual model of reality a delusion? Because titles are placed upon our subconscious mind. Thinking and speaking creates and manipulates vibrational resonance. Resonance is a specific vibration holding a place for a specific amount of time, a temporarily manifested energy. We place titles on temporarily manifested energy, putting boxes on it. It prolongs a temporary manifestation to control reality through repetition and programming. But this is through flawed identity. This is why it's difficult to understand that your joy and your pain are one, because you've placed titles upon them and believe that they can stand alone by themselves because there's a title on it. But how can something stand alone by itself? How can a flower exist when it needs rain, soil, and sunlight? So how is the flower not also the rain, soil, and sunlight? It is. You just don't think it is because you've separated its identity. That's a flawed identity. This leaves you in a lifetime trance, because when you believe energy can stand alone because you've placed a title around it, you've boxed in that energy and allowed yourself to become attached to it. When in reality, its polar opposite is the same energy, because it's all one experience. You're destroying potential energy because that one piece of energy that's within you can't be transmuted because you've placed a title on it and you've conformed it into one space. Your subconscious mind has been manipulated to destroy your potential. But titles themselves aren't the enemy. They're just navigations of nature's chaos. You're the enemy because you're attached to them.
I think I'm gonna make a podcast called Solutions to Suffering, getting different people on who are obviously attempting to help people increase their quality of life through the internet, through whatever mediums they do so. I've met so many people on Instagram that would be so interesting to have conversation with, and I feel like it'd be so impactful for people who watch. Let me know if you'd be interested in that in the comments below. Hello, it's Rain Cordio. Welcome back to my channel. I go by the alias Rain Cordio, and all glory belongs to the Most High. I am a humble servant. And as a humble servant, I will be sharing to you whatever revelations come to mind at these particular moments in time that have helped me increase my own quality of life, so that maybe vicariously you can do the same with yours, because yours and I experience probably isn't so different because we're both human. And we likely both grew up in modern Babylon with flawed conceptual models of reality placed upon our subconscious that don't serve us and allow us to do things that we don't like about ourselves repeatedly, and get these loops that we get caught in with our ego every day, that we are now just learning that we have to unlearn and get away from. So every time you look on the internet for videos that try to give you information or to relate to in this conscious journey and experience, you're really just looking for the right spell casting to put you in the right mindset to get to unlearning. And what is getting to unlearning? Letting go of every conceptual model that you have placed upon reality and every ideology of which you have used as a guiding light. And why is this? Because any comprehension of the incomprehensible phenomena, which is the human experience, is a false light. Any comprehension that you can portray and articulate through language, because language in and of itself is a contradiction, because energy manifests in a multitude of forms, but everything is that same energy manifesting. So we give words meaning and we attribute titles to ideas. But what does this do to us unconsciously? It unconsciously, subconsciously, however you want to put it, manipulates our own subconscious mind. The mind is the body, the impulsive reactions that you have to circumstances. How is your mind being manipulated? By language? I'll tell you. Because first of all, you didn't even get to choose the language that you think in. You didn't even get to choose the form of which your thoughts are being brought onto you. And these thoughts are keeping you in these consistent loops, because you're casting spells on yourself that you're believing is real, because we give words meaning. And this dialogue that is going on in your head all the time, you believe it has meaning. You believe it stands alone. All right, let me give you this example. There's a flower. Why do we call it a flower, and why do we separate its identity from everything? Why do we separate the flower's identity from the rain, the sunlight, and the soil when it needs all of those things to even be a flower? Why do we do that? Okay, we utilize titles to navigate through nature's chaos. But the problem is, regardless of what title you put on a temporary manifestation of energy, energy in and of itself is change and is consistently susceptible to change, and it cannot stay and stand in one place without the ability to be transmuted. Energy transmutation is what you were put here to do. You are the alchemist. So what does that mean? That means titles being placed upon ideas makes those ideas immortal. It makes you believe that those ideas transcend you, when in reality, you're the only thing that gave that idea of power in the first place. And the only reason you put a title upon it was so you could call upon the power of that idea to be used practically. But it doesn't become so practical because we attach to these ideas to navigate through reality and cling on to the ones that we have used to create a conceptual model of reality that we can at least understand enough to make a action that we feel confident in. But that is all temporary because it's manifest to change, and your and the confidence that you have to commit actions is also bound to change. Every single one of these things is bound to change. So if you hold on to a specific description of which brought you comfort in a temporary moment, and you continue to let that description fortify itself in your mind, it then holds power over you. And you are now attached subconsciously to an idea and a construct. Instead of experiencing the idea that you just constructed in your mind, you're too busy thinking yourself around it. You're too busy casting spells on yourself through this language that you didn't even get to choose to think in, where one thing can't mean another. And that was the whole point that I was getting at with the flower. A temporary manifestation of energy is a described word, but that word doesn't include the description that the word really is, because you're just describing energy, right? But energy, everything is energy. So every definition should be everything, because everything is God. So realistically, definitions are just navigation through a temporary existence. But when you give power to a definition, allowing language to be the way that you conceptualize your reality through thinking and dialogue, you convince yourself that that thing has power over you, but you're the only thing that gives that thing power in order to be able to be used for a proper purpose, so that you can manifest your authentically desired reality. But you're being stopped from doing that because you're attached to specific emotional states that you can't get yourself out of, because you're too busy trying to understand it and think your way out of it. Think your way out of this concept because you're believing that you're stuck within the concept, like, I'm confused. But what is confusion to itself? Confusion is just confused. So be confused, because confusion wouldn't call itself confused. So just be confused. And as you accept that feeling and become present within it, that's the only way that clarity is bound to manifest. Those two things are the same. Your pain and your joy are one, but you would never be able to understand that if you were too busy clinging on to how they are defined in your subconscious mind. You don't have the ability to transmute energy like you're supposed to. You don't have the ability to turn your shame into your glory, your lower nature instincts into something greater, if you are being manipulated by believing that they exist by themselves. Because you've put a title around them and you've given them power, and you have made them a pillar of an idea in your mind, and they have been integrated with your conceptual model of reality. But the only way that you turn your reality into what you want it to be is to let go of those conceptual models that were placed onto you and create your own. Which means the same energy that is being used to put you down at this moment is the same energy that you can use to lift yourself up. But you would never be able to see the, first of all, intricacy behind those two different things and how they connect. Not only that, but how easy it is to let that connection be at a consistent flow, because you're too busy trying to understand it through this limited language. You're too busy trying to comprehend the incomprehensible experience that you are living every day. So think less, do more. Thoughts are not necessary unless it is the task at hand. Thoughts are not necessary unless it is the task at hand. You will find yourself subconsciously getting caught in what you think you are experiencing because your subconscious was manipulated to be attached to titles. You will literally find yourself thinking around and around what you assume this experience to be. But that's just limiting potential energy, because this experience is so beyond what you could ever have conceptualized it to be right now. What's ahead is way greater than what's behind you, but all you have to think about is what's behind you, because that's all your thoughts are limited to, truly, is your experience and what has gone within that field of vision. But how can there be new experiences within that field of vision if we're too busy holding on to what we think the old ones are? Let go of who you think you are. Let go of what you think this life is and what you think you are experiencing. Because the more you try to understand what you're experiencing, the less you are actually able to understand it as you're experiencing it, aka feel alive during this lifetime. We get caught in loops of thought, caught in contradictions that we don't even realize are contradictions, because we're allowing this language to have power over us that was made to separate us, yet also connect us, but inevitably separate us, because the tongue is a double-edged sword no matter which way you look at it. And in a land bound by duality, you are bound by duality. Your sound vibration that you are putting out is bound by those polarities. But as you rise in consciousness, you're able to see that those polarities need each other to be a manifestation of energy. So they can't be separate. They're the same thing. Law of divine oneness that you're able to comprehend through a limited aspect of comprehension in meditation. But remember that it's consistently limited. Your touches and glimpses of the almighty oneness are never going to be able to be truly articulated. Just articulated enough to be practical. So we can still speak and ponder conceptual models of reality, but only to see which ones are most practical to be used at this moment. For example, I wake up this morning, I'm like, I need to lead through the lens of compassion, because my subconscious was programmed to be a negative emotional home. And I have been repeating these spell castings on myself, allowing myself to think that I'm experiencing this limited form, but only because I've been attached to living life vicariously through what I think that experience is. Through the title, through the idea. You're living life vicariously through boxed in ideas, but you can't box in an idea when the idea manifested from energy, and everything is energy. It's that simple. So I used the idea of compassion to lead with in my day to day. And instead of listening to the voices that manifest in my body, because you got to realize you're able to get downloads all day as you just walk around. The elements are ready to give you the sound vibration that they're resonating, but who's talking? The language that you're hearing in your ear all day from these thoughts, where are they coming from? Likely the energy that is binded in your lower self, because you've caught yourself in these loops that you believe exist, these temporary mediums of comfort that you subconsciously have been manipulated into. So when you deprive those things for long enough, you renounce the desires of the flesh, you seek for something higher, you will be able to hear from higher places. You'll be able to receive the comprehension from a higher dimension of awareness. But I promise you, if the reception of that comprehension of what you're experiencing is leading you to think about it more and to try to understand it deeper than just being within the experience, once again, you're leading yourself down the wrong rabbit hole. When I wake up this morning and decide to lead with compassion through the models of which I've learned leading with compassion to be throughout my own journey, I still can't just go cling on to that word and go cling on to that idea every time I'm suffering throughout the day. Why? Because it's still a title and it's bound and manifest to change. So my ego is going to be searching for comfort, actively searching for comfort, but all my ego had to do to get the comfort that it was actively searching for was through action. My ego had to just be active to get what it was actively searching for. It never had to actively search. It just had to be active. It just had to do the action. of shedding that compassion upon myself, because we conceptualize ideas and form them into language for a reason, because it's the best thing that we're able to use to understand our reality at that moment. But reality is bound to change. So the limitations of which have been placed upon your brain are something that need to be let go of in order for new heights of experience to be reached. Because even the true meaning and depth behind the words that you're using every day are so much more meaningful than you understand, because you are only able to see them through your limited range of perspective, and you're only able to see the resonating energy and, you know, the idea behind the title that you've placed upon something. You're only able to see a limited form of what that could truly be. I could make one noise, Om, and it could mean the most profound thing in the world. But if you were just busy looking at it as meaning this one little thing, it would mean nothing to you. So you have the ability to manipulate meaning through your intention as you go about using this beautiful gift of vibration that we have been given, whether it be through action, speaking, same thing. You obviously want to cultivate a practice that puts you in a better position in life. It's a lot easier to be able to do that without overthinking it and being stuck in the past when you realize that you didn't even have control over the nature of your thoughts in the first place. So what is the point in continuing to dwell in them when they obviously haven't gotten you anywhere up to this point? The knowledge that you're seeking is just the ability to unlearn. And you begin unlearning by sitting there and feeling all these things that you're not necessarily wishing to confront, and clinging on to attempting to understand it through your intellect instead of just going through the experience. You're trying to comprehend what you're feeling instead of just feeling it. So you're in your head instead of present and aware. And what does that lead you to do when you're in your head? Cling on to the comfort that your head thinks is a real thing. So you numb yourself. But you can't keep yourself stuck in this loop. That's why you have to let go of everything that you thought you knew in order to leave the room to become what you always could have been. And for your life outside of you to be greater than what you could have ever comprehended or thought you were able to comprehend, but you weren't, because you can't comprehend an incomprehensible experience, which is happening every day. I love you, Elohim. Hey, Jamie, I love you.